year was 1908. America's population was exploding. Crime was on the rise. Under the direction of the United States Attorney General, an investigative force was formed within the Department of Justice. It quickly earned a reputation for success, combating violent crimes like bank robbery and interstate auto theft. By the 1930s, special agents were investigating bloody murders, tracking down kidnappers, capturing notorious gangsters, and seizing foreign spies. In 1935, this force became known as the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Their challenge? To protect Americans from a broad range of criminals and national security threats, and to do it within the rule of law. To meet this challenge, the men and women of the FBI have developed high-tech crime-fighting tools and extremely effective intelligence-gathering techniques. Their practice of circulating information about dangerous criminals began in 1919 and evolved over time into the 10 Most Wanted Fugitive program, through which the American public actively participates in their own protection. DNA samples and fingerprints preserved in the FBI laboratory and crime records maintained at the National Crime Information Center aid the FBI and other law enforcement in the identification of suspected criminals, terrorists, and spies. The FBI Academy is world-renowned for its state-of-the-art training for American and foreign law enforcement officers. The FBI developed the forensic science techniques used by law enforcement organizations worldwide to process and evaluate complex crime scenes. When the first Joint Terrorism Task Force was created in the early 1980s, it did not make national news. But most Americans today are aware that JTTFs bring numerous government agencies and all levels of law enforcement together to effectively respond to criminal and terrorist threats. FBI employees, empowered under American law and given national jurisdiction, have always come under intense personal scrutiny. They maintain the highest level of professional standards in their capabilities, their courage, and their integrity. High-caliber professionals with many areas of expertise work together to continue the FBI legacy of crime prevention, intelligence gathering, criminal apprehension, and successful prosecution. J. Edgar Hoover and every director since have emphasized the FBI's values: rigorous obedience to the Constitution, respect for the dignity of those they protect, compassion, fairness, and integrity in every facet of their work. The Bureau's dedicated special agents perform alongside highly trained linguists, engineers, scientists, and analysts to protect our freedoms. They lead by example and provide essential law enforcement services to Americans, often placing themselves in harm's way to protect our rights and keep our nation secure. National security has been an FBI priority since the Mexican Revolution. Field offices along the border concentrated their efforts on foreign intrigues and intelligence collection. As World War II raged in Europe and the Pacific, special agents were called upon to gather intelligence and combat enemy spies throughout the Western Hemisphere. Civil rights organizations were just gaining a voice in the 1960s when their leaders and supporters became targets of assassins. FBI investigations successfully removed these murderers from American streets. A series of high-profile arrests in 1985 characterized that year as the Year of the Spy. As far back as 1940, the FBI worked tirelessly overseas to prevent crime and terrorism from reaching our shores. Today, the Legal Attaché program operates in over 50 countries to achieve these same goals. In recent years, protecting our security has become ever more challenging. Cooperative alliances formed with international law enforcement partners have paid off in the investigation of deadly incidents and threats to Americans around the world. As terrorist attacks have escalated against U.S. interests in foreign countries, the FBI has continued to expand and apply its capabilities to meet the challenge. When terrorism invaded our shores, these capabilities became infinitely more important. And yet, even as national security requires an enormous response, the fight against crime in other arenas continues simultaneously. The FBI ferrets out child predators, scam artists, and identity thieves who misuse the internet to prey on Americans and our children. They protect employees, stockholders, and the public from corporate fraud and public corruption. The FBI continues the battle against organized crime activities that endanger our citizens and cripple our economy. Violent crime, espionage, and terrorism have invaded the fabric of life throughout our history. Thankfully, the men and women of the FBI accept the challenge of holding such threats at bay. As Americans, we enjoy our many freedoms under a government of our own choosing that creates laws for our protection and well-being. The men and women of the FBI are on our side, and we're the better for it. We are proud to celebrate 100 years of FBI history, in cases large and small, notorious and anonymous. But to celebrate their success is not enough. We must participate in our communities, in our government, and in our future. We must stay informed and do our part to help law enforcement and the FBI. Fidelity, bravery, and integrity. These are the qualities that define the FBI of yesterday and distinguish it today. Fidelity to each other and to their fellow Americans. Bravery in life-threatening situations. Integrity in moments of choice. These important leadership traits will continue to characterize the men and women of the FBI tomorrow, substantially improving the lives and security of all Americans.